the story of when I was 19 years old and I kind of a little bit stole a truck. I was not acting alone. I did have help, and it was also not my idea. Likely story, I know. I have one sibling, a brother. His name is Brian. He's 2.5 years younger than I am, and he is precious, and I love him. We're great friends to this day. So being that we were this close in age, we had a lot of our teenage hellion years at the same time. They kind of overlapped and really worked our parents into a frenzy. Our parents were pretty strict as far as we were concerned. Like other parents of other kids our age weren't so strict with us as our parents were. And they kind of raised us, you know, with the strict rules. But looking back on it as an adult now, I kind of see that they gave us just enough freedom to make our own mistakes, but then they intervened like right before the law got involved. Like they're the reason why we don't have police records to this day, probably. But anyway, so I highly respect anybody who's raised a teenager or who is currently raising a teenager. My hat's off to you. That is freaking brutal. So this particular occasion, I'm 19, that puts my brother around 17. He's in high school. He's running with the questionable crowd, because that's what we did in high school. It's just a high school thing that you do. And just worrying my parents into a frenzy. And so they were intervening enough just to keep a closer eye on him, because they were aware of this questionable crowd. One Friday night, my brother came to my parents and asked if he could borrow my dad's truck. He wanted to go see some friends. My mother, understandably, was immediately suspicious. She said, "What friends?" And he said, "I want to go see Danny." Danny's his lifelong best friend. And she said, "You want to go see Danny at Danny's house?" And he said, "Yes." Okay, well, Danny's house contained Danny's mom, and Danny's mom and our mom went back decades. They're great friends. This was acceptable. And Mom said, "That's fine, take the truck, be home by curfew, have a good time." But as she stood in the living room and she watched out the front window as he was leaving the driveway, a thought came into her head. Intrusive, but useful thought. It's a thought you can only have about somebody else when you know them just so well and you love them just so much that you can tell when they're trying to pull a fast one on you. And she smelled a rat. And she thought, you know, just for kicks, she's gonna go for a little drive. And so she tore out of the driveway, not following him, no, because she's not that kind of mom. But she did just happen to coincidentally catch up to him at the end of the block. There was a stop sign there at the end of the block. She's right behind him, stopped. If he was going to Danny's house, like he said he was, he would have to turn left. Wouldn't you know it? Turn right. Oh, this kid had lied to her. Son of a gun. She could have followed him. She didn't. She's not that kind of mom. She instead turned around and came back home. She went into conference with my dad. They went through the phone book. They called people they knew, they called strangers they didn't know, and they micro-sleuthed where they thought he might have gone. They got back in her car, and they started going through this neighborhood that was P.S. nowhere near where we lived, and started driving up and down streets, just on the off chance that they would find Dad's truck. And you know what? They did. Dad's truck was parked out in front of a house, P.S. not Danny's house, even close, and there was a house party going on inside. And so, did either of my parents go back into that party and fish my brother out by the ear? No, that's not who they are. My mom kind of gave my dad one of these, "I'll take it from here," and then they just went back home. She came to me, and she said, with a twinkle in her eye and half a smirk on her face, "So, what are you up to tonight?" I said, "I'm low energy tonight. I'm just going to stay in and watch a movie." And she said, "That's boring. Do you want to steal a truck?" Oh, yeah. When we talk about bullshit innocence, let's talk about my mom, okay? Because my brother and I got it from somewhere, and that was her. My mom could play dumb and innocent with the best of them. But if you knew her at all, you knew that she was just playing. Because even though she had these big, beautiful doe eyes and fluttery lashes and this constant look on her face of, "Who, me? I don't know what you're talking about." No, that's camouflage camouflage so that you can't see the mad genius that lives behind those eyes. This is a mad genius whose spiritual gift and love language was playing practical jokes. This is the woman who raised us. This is who we're dealing with here. This is why she didn't follow Brian to that party, or why she didn't drive up to the party and go in and get him. Because why would you address the situation directly when you have the perfect opportunity to break your child into compliance? Oh, my mother. Meet Carol Thompson. So, and I am my mother's daughter. So when she comes to me on a Friday night, even though I was kind of half asleep by this time, and she says, "So you want to steal a truck?" My answer is, "Hells yeah, I want to steal a truck. Let's go. Like right now, go." And so we did. We took off, and she drove us straight to the address where I was really impressed with their sleuthing skills, straight to where my brother had parked my dad's truck, and I very quietly got out of her car, and I very quietly stole the truck, and I drove it to the end of the block. Now we had to make a plan. He needed to think that this truck was legitimately stolen by an actual thief and not by his family members. So you can't just take it home, because that's too big a giveaway. If he gets a ride home, the truck is there and then the jig is up. No, we needed him to like basically drive around all night looking for this thing and maybe call the cops on his own underage drinking party. Hopefully. So we had to hide it somewhere. The place that made the most sense was at the church. The church was nowhere near the house party, but it was kind of near our home, so at least it would be close by. Nothing was happening at the church. The parking lot lights were off. It was a ghost town. I secured the truck behind the church, locked it, secured it, got in my mom's car, went back home, and I popped some corn, and I got ready for some good times because I was enjoying this a little too much. Yeah. We were thinking he's going to be out all night long. He's going to come home the next morning crying, no truck, no sleep. It was going to be delicious. But, wouldn't you know, right at curfew, the door opened and my brother walked in. And he was just as nervous as anything. He had his tail tucked away between his legs, and my parents were both eagle eyes on him like, and I'm just shoveling popcorn in my mouth like Michael Jackson in the Thriller video, and he's just, and my mom decided to open the conversation, and she said, "So, how was your evening?" And he said, "It's nice, I enjoyed myself." And she said, "Nice. So, how's Danny?" Huh? And Brian said, "He's doing really well. He had a good time too." Which, P.S., not a lie, Danny was at this party. So, she's got him right where she wants him, and the tension is jelly-like in the air. So, how'd you get home? And Brian said, "Same way I got there, Dad's truck." It's impossible. And we looked, and the truck was in the driveway, and how the hell did that happen? And my dad said, "Son, explain yourself." And my brother, with all the grace, maturity, and level-headedness it was going to take to get him through basically his entire adult life, came clean. I was proud of him. He said, "I lied about where I was going to go tonight, because I knew that you would not let me go where I wanted to be. And I went there and I wasn't supposed to be there, and I'm so sorry. And I expect to be punished at whatever term you deem reasonable." He went on to tell us about how when he came out from the house party, he saw this big empty space where my dad's truck had been parked, and he panicked because he thought it had been stolen. Okay, good, we did right there. And then he told everybody at the party, "Oh my God, my dad's truck is gone." And so they panicked. All right, good, we're good. And as they were acting on that panic, and he had a friend of his take him around every street in the neighborhood in Las Vegas, Nevada on a Friday night, okay, looking for this needle in a haystack, a thought entered his mind. It was intrusive but necessary thought. The only kind of thought that you can have when you know somebody so well and you love them so much, you can tell when they're trying to pull a fast one on you. Sound familiar? He smelled a rat. He thought, if this is Mom's work, just for kicks, somebody take me to the church. They took him to the church. There was the truck. He still had the key. He drove home. End of story. Wow. My dad said, "You are obviously very grounded." And my brother just nodded. My mother couldn't say anything because that he had lied and gone off somewhere he wasn't supposed to be, Dad was dealing with that justice. Dad was gonna meet out that punishment. His further infraction, though, was that he denied his dear, dear mother of the opportunity to see her only begotten son squirm and shake and sweat and maybe pee a little, trying to figure out how to lie on top of lies and figure out like how to tell my parents that Dad's truck had been stolen. He had found her out using the same exact logic that she had used to nail him in the first place. All she could do was fold her arms and cut her eyes at him. Any other kid in any other family would have read that body language on their mom as, "You are in so much trouble." We knew to read that body language on our mom as a wordless acknowledgement that she had met her match and she needed to up her game. Thank you.